Welcome to the Cartridge and Disc Podcast. What interesting topic do we have today? Oh, today it's mobile gaming. Let's go. Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. This video is based on a script. You can watch, I put the sample out for one of these on the post. You can read all the citations there, by the way. I don't want to read them on the video because it'd just be boring, and I think this subject is pretty interesting. You know, when we talk about the Amico Home Project, for example, we chuckle, you know, and we make jabs at it, what have you, but it's actually something that many companies are doing. We, as physical video game collectors, chuckle at this stuff, right? We make fun of mobile gamers, that it's not real gaming, and so on and so forth. But there comes a point where you have to stop joking when you're talking about business, right? Let me tell you this, in case you didn't know. Smartphone games accounted for about 45% of video game revenues worldwide in 2022. And that's only going to go higher. People love their phones, as we know. And mobile gaming is impossible to ignore now. It has to be part of any video game maker's selection of products. Right? You can't ignore 45% of the market. You know, if you hit it big on one of those games, you know, it can make or break your year, right? You can make more money. That's why you see a lot of the big companies, right? A lot of the big companies, and I'll give you some data here to back it up. And again, the sources are going to be on the community post. But you might be surprised at some of these numbers, right? Because just like any other fan base, you know, how do we show as retro collectors our love for X, Y, or Z video game? We show our love with money, with dollars, right? And video game players of the mobile kind, they do the same. Mobile gamers spend millions of dollars on the games that they love, right? And I wanted to go over some of the key statistics, right, that I found. Again, this is just Googling, doing basic research when I'm sitting around. And you know, they're pretty interesting figures. Mobile gamers, consumers spending reached $89.6 billion in 2021. It's a 12.7% increase upon the previous year. Global mobile gaming revenue was $92.2 billion in 2022. Mobile gaming revenue in 2022 was $92 billion. It was actually down 6.4 year on year, but there was a surge on downloads, right? Meaning that there's more revenue out there to be made. You know, if the right game is out there. Mobile games market is predicted to grow to $419 billion with a B by 2027. The average revenue per user, ARPU, is the metric they use, right? For mobile games will reach about $164 in 2023. That's nothing to sneeze at. You know, many companies would love a piece of that pie. RPGs were the top grossing game genre in 2022. Followed by strategy and then puzzle, right? Users in countries like Indonesia, Brazil, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, South Korea surpassed 5 hours per day in mobile apps and games. That's some real love, right? Though you're talking console numbers now. Smartphone games accounted for 45% of video game revenue worldwide, as we already said. The global mobile games market generated an estimated $6.4 billion from player spending across the app stores and Google Plays in 2022. Right? Genshin Impact from MiHoYo, I guess that's how you would say it correctly, was the second highest earning mobile game worldwide for June 2022 for $154 million gross in revenue. Holy moly. The United States generated $1.8 billion in mobile game revenue in June 2022, making it the number one market in global revenue, right? Wow. I mean, that is pretty gnarly. The estimated revenue of the mobile gaming market was around $77.2 billion in 2020. Now, what are the top grossing key statistics that we're looking at, right? Honor of Kings was the top grossing game worldwide, generating $1.65 billion, with almost all of the revenue coming from China. That's why a lot of people focus on China, because it's a huge market. Candy Crush Saga was the top grossing game in the US, while Roblox held the #1 spot another year in the UK. The vast majority of revenue actually came from China, with Pug Mobile, Honor of Kings, Genshin Impact, all earning 60% of their revenue from that particular country. Now you can see why, everybody's focusing on China, because, there's a lot more people, there's a lot more cell phones out there, right? Now let's take a look at what's going on in the US, in our own backyard, right? The top grossing games in the United States for 2022, what were they? Candy Crush Saga with over 600 million in revenue in 2022. Oh, good old reliable, right? Which is responsible for about 60% of all of Candy Crush Saga's revenue, right? So let's look at the rest of the app revenue here. Of course, Candy Crush with a 606 million. Roblox is number 2 at 424 million. Coin Master 341 million. Royal Match 248 million. Pokemon Go, this one surprisingly still up here, 238 million. Envoy, King's Return, 226 million. Clash of Clans, 209 million. I know somebody that's addicted to this day to that game. I've caught them a couple of times playing it where they should be doing other things. Homescapes, 198 million. Bingo Blitz, 197 million. And last but not least, Genshin Impact, 185 million, right? I mean, for me, let me tell you, the surprise there was Pokemon Go. I was surprised that it's still making that much money, but there it is. I mean, people are loyal. They're loyal to their brand, especially when it comes to video games. Just because people are playing mobile doesn't make them any less of a gamer, guys. And the reason, whether it's in television, EA, Nintendo, I mean, all the big companies have to be looking at mobile games. And why? Because, look, guys, I'm traveling right now, and I pull on my Switch everywhere. I've been having a great time with my Switch. But it's not socially correct to bring your Switch out anywhere, right? I can't be in the middle of a meeting, and maybe it's not my turn to be engaged or whatever. I can't pull out my Switch and start playing there. But a lot of people doodle on their phone. There's some meetings where you have a no cell phone policy specifically because of that. People pretend they're doing something important and they're playing whatever. I mean, that's why companies make those policies, just not, the places I've worked, but anywhere else, you have those kind of policies. And, some people are talking on Facebook, whatever, but a lot of times people are just playing on their phones. And the numbers reflected, look at those numbers out in Southeast Asia where people are playing 5 hours and such. And the U.S., has got to be getting up there too. This market cannot be ignored anymore, especially if you're making any type of games. If you're a startup, if you want to make money on the market, you have to be investing in mobile somehow, because this is just going to grow, right? People are falling in love with their phones over and over again. Every year, there's more features, there's more power. And let me tell you guys, there's some pretty good games out there. A lot of us retro gamers that don't like to admit that we own cell phone games. Of course we do. I have a couple. Everybody has a couple. It's very few people that don't have them. Whether it's just something casual, something even more complicated like an RPG, somebody has something out there. These numbers reflect it. Mobile gaming is here to stay, and it's only going to grow. What do you guys think? What are your favorite games out there? The latest I was playing was Pokemon Snap. I think that was great. I have a couple of Sega games, some old school stuff there that I play. And I even play a slap game. I just have a few out there. But most of the time I am playing on my Switch. But when it's convenient to have something smaller, less intrusive in the environment, then I pull out my cell phone out. I'll play something like that. What's your experience out there? Were you surprised at these numbers? I sure was, man. This is a bunch of money. And whether it's Amico or anybody else, they are going to be going into this market. All right, guys, I hope you liked the video. I hope you found this subject interesting, and I hope that I earned your subscription. I will catch you on the next one. Take care.
Make sure you like and subscribe to keep our master happy and the videos coming.